Welcome to the Board of Health meeting on Wednesday, May 22nd, 4 p.m. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency signed into law on March 29th, 2023. This meeting will be conducted via remote means and in person, as long as members of the public can easily access the proceedings in real time and participate remotely. Until further notice, this meeting will no longer be broadcast live, but it may be watched when the show is replayed on YouTube. Members of the public who wish to participate in the meeting may do so in the following manner. In person at Roe Park Meeting Room located on the second floor, Plymouth Town Hall, 26 Court Street, Plymouth, Mass. Note, occupancy limit of the room may reduce the number of attendees that can be accommodated. By remote, please just use the Zoom information that's present on the agenda. You may also send any comment or question that pertains to a current agenda item to publichealth@plymouth-ma.gov. They will be read on the air and read and answered by the Board of Health as practicable. If time doesn't permit answers during the meeting, responses will be sent by email as soon as possible. First item of business is approval of the 2 sets of minutes. The first is from April 24th, 2024. Does anyone on the board have any changes or corrections to the minutes from the 24th of April?
No.
Okay. Hearing none, would a member of the board please make a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Dr. Reed makes the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It. Oh, go ahead, Lorenzo.
Hey, thanks, Amy.
I guess Lorenzo, by agreement, got to second the motion.
Yeah.
Assuming there's no further discussion, I'll simply call the roll. Dr. Reed, yes or no?
Yes.
Amy, yes or no?
Yes.
Lorenzo, yes or no?
Yes.
Deb, yes or no?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Obviously, David Golden is no longer with us, so he's not voting, so the minutes are approved unanimously. Next set of minutes is from the 8th of May. Once again, does anyone have any changes or corrections to the minutes from the 8th of May? Hearing none, would someone make a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
I believe that was Amy.
It was.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Lorenzo seconds the motion. If there's any further discussion, please stop me. Otherwise, I'll just call the roll again. Amy, yes or no?
Yes.
Lorenzo, yes or no?
Yes.
Deb, yes or no?
Yes.
Dr. Reed has to abstain. She wasn't present for that meeting. Myself, yes. So there are 4 in favor and 1 abstention. Minutes.
Hey. Barry, could I say something?
Sure.
I learned yesterday that you don't have to abstain if you weren't at the meeting. We're basically voting to allow the minutes to go to the town clerk's office. I learned that yesterday.
Yeah, we brought that up before, Amy, actually. That is absolutely true. And I have brought that up before, but I think every board kind of does what they're comfortable with. So we can continue to do it this way. We can continue to do it a different way. It's up to the
Okay.
chair.
Well, it so happens we have an attorney from the MAHB present. Mike, do you have any clarifications about that?
Well, you know what, if you could restate it, I was just checking an email when you. I'm all excited about plastics here, so.
Well, I'll satisfy your curiosity shortly. No,
What was the question?
We were just wondering if someone was not present at a meeting, do they have to abstain from voting on approval of the minutes? Or
No,
they do not?
actually, under Robert's Rules of Order, a vote on minutes is a vote of confidence in the person who took the minutes. So you do
Okay.
not have to be present at the
Okay.
meeting the minutes came from. Strangely
Well,
enough, it doesn't seem right, but it is right.
Well, thank you for your official ruling as an attorney for the MAHB.
I'm pretty sure mine was official too.
Good.
I'm pretty sure. Mine was exceptionally
Just
official.
checking. I do have
More
one
so than
question.
mine, so.
Minutes in general, I did look at the town's listing for posting agendas and minutes. And for some reason, all the agendas were there, but there was only one set of minutes from sometime in January.
Oh, boy.
So it wasn't something wrong with my computer, they're just not there yet. Okay,
No, you're the only person who's probably looking for them.
I'm not sure if there's a time limit to posting minutes. I have no, do you know? Karen?
There is not.
There is not,
No.
because I've seen other towns when I looked for minutes and I couldn't find them for like 6 months,
Oh, yeah.
which didn't seem right. Okay, so that's taken care of. Our next item is a septic variance for 168 Little Sandy Pond Road. Darren? are you
Good
able to-
afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Great, great. Darren Meyer here representing the property owner Greg Condino for 168 Little Sandy Pond Road. This property, let me see if I can share my screen. Hopefully I can. Let's see. Can you guys see that okay?
Yes,
Yes.
we can.
Yes.
Great. So what we have is two separate cottage building units. I mean, they're decent size, but nothing huge. The 168 is a 2-bedroom unit building, and number 43 is a 1-bedroom building. Let me see, just trying to get so 2 bedrooms at 168, 1 bedroom at the Lookout 43 Lookout address. Going back to the drawing here. We have singular outlets from each building, kind of made it difficult for siting, but because of the elevations of the two pipes, we had to situate the leaching on the lower part of the lot. The challenge is the size of the lot as well as the private wells in the area. I did the best I could to make sure that we were far enough away from the wells as far as I could be, but still meet the grading requirements of the property and still site it on the property and not really create too many setback variances and whatnot. So the system itself is a 2-compartment tank because we have the multi-family setup here. The well itself services both properties. So we kind of combined the properties and designed a system to accommodate both, giving that consideration. We've notified the abutters. I did receive the green card back from the 41 Lookout owner. I did not receive anything from One Smallland Lane, which is the other well that we are within 100 feet from. Otherwise, we're outside 100 feet from all the other wells, except for those two and obviously the on-site well. I'm happy to answer any questions regarding this, if there are any, and please feel free.
Okay, I did notice one thing. Apparently there's a cesspool on site at the moment. Or there
Yes,
was.
can you see my cursor? It's right here.
Yes,
So that's
Okay.
going to be removed and filled in as part of the construction of the new system.
because it says existing leaching pit. Is
Okay,
that
yeah,
just
it's a,
synonymous with cesspool?
well, I could have been more clear, but it is a cesspool. The issue, I guess, with the property was the owner, according to the owner, the tenant at 168 left a water running one day while she was out for the day at work or whatnot. And that's what created the overflow issue. And that's why we're here before you to repair this, because it was deemed to be a failed system. So that is the the cesspool in question that needs to be replaced for the whole property, or the two properties.
Okay, thank you. So I have a few more questions, but I'm going to turn it over to the board members to see what they would like clarification on. Dr. Reed, do you have any questions?
Yes, I was wondering if these wells have been tested.
My knowledge, no, nothing that I've seen.
Just so you know, Darren, we usually, especially when there was a cesspool present, feel that it's best to get water well testing results so that we know that the well water is still safe for consumption.
Okay.
So you might want to try to arrange for well testing if you can.
That's fine. Considering I haven't received any reply from One Small and Lane, what's the standard protocol if you don't hear from them?
He doesn't have to do anything.
According to our department director, you don't have to do anything.
Yeah, your due diligence is to send out the notification and to obtain the green card. After that, there is no responsibility on your part.
Okay. All right, I'll send out a request. Obviously, we can get the on-site well tested. I can send out a request to the other two owners asking if we can get in to get a sample and get those tested.
Okay, thank you for doing that. Lorenzo, do you have anything?
There's two variances being asked, correct? A setback, could you show on the cursor what that is? And then the
Well,
73-foot ground cover, what is that?
yeah, the leaching is going to be, I wish I could, the leaching is going to be greater than 3 feet. So we're 6 feet below grade with that. Why does it keep popping up? Let's grab crazy. So we have a max grade of 84 to 86 with a top of leaching at about 80. So it's the depth is anywhere from 4 to 6 feet below grade. So I did a max variance of 6 feet to cover the possibility that, and that's all predicated on the existing piping coming out of the building. This unit here, it's a problem just because of the way the grade goes uphill here from 82, 84, 86, and 88. So the lot itself climbs from 80 almost to 94. It's a pretty significant steep slope. So, we've kind of proposed to level it off a little bit, but can't do that on some of it. So we've asked for the depth variance, H20 loading on the units, and then the depth variance. The other three variances are just to abutting wells and the on-site well for that. So the only variance other than the 3 wells is the cover variance because the grade goes from 82 to 86, 87, somewhere in there.
Okay, anything else, Lorenzo?
No, thank you.
Okay, Amy?
No questions, thank you.
Okay, Deb?
Yeah, so is it one system for 2 dwellings?
Correct.
Okay, so, is there a recommendation from the department?
The department would recommend approval.
Are there any abutters present online? I can't tell. Doesn't look like it.
No,
Okay, do we need a deed restriction in this case?
no.
We do not.
No.
Okay. So, something I just learned yesterday morning on a DPH webinar. It is recommended if private wells are in use, that they be tested for radon in the water. It just so happens that, the state DPH now has a grant to provide, testing kits, both for air testing and for well water testing. So all you have to do is call the DPH. I don't know if I have the number with me at the moment, but you might want to write this down if I can find it. Okay, if you call the DPH at 800-723-6695. They'll ask you a few questions. You actually get a real living person. It's not a voicemail thing. They will ask you a few questions, and then they will send you the appropriate test kit. And in the case of well water testing, all you have to do is take a water sample and send it in the envelope provided to the laboratory. And they will send the results only back to the property owner. So it's a secure test. But it's certainly worthwhile knowing if there's radon in the water, simply because if there's radon in the water, it is possible that it will vaporize and you could end up breathing it. So I will now recommend that every time somebody has a private well, because it comes at no cost and it takes probably about, I don't know, 10 minutes to get a water sample and send it to the laboratory. So it's a win-win. About 12% of the properties in Plymouth County do have radon above the 4 picocuries per liter, at which this federal government, I guess, recommends, or the state recommends, that testing be done again, followed by mitigation if necessary. So that's just informational for you. It's not a requirement. It is a safety measure. So that we can try to make sure that people have safe drinking water if they're getting it out of private well. I don't think there's any other questions that I can think of. So if there's no further questions, would someone like to make a motion concerning the variance request?
I'll make a motion to, oh, go ahead, Terry.
That's okay. I'll make a motion, to approve the variance request with the stipulation that the, wells be tested prior to.
As
Doing it.
best they, yeah, as best they can because of the,
Yeah, as best as I
Okay, motion is made by Dr. Reed to approve the variances subject to, I guess, the acceptable well water test results. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Amy seconds the motion. Is there further questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'll simply call the roll again. Dr. Reed, yes or no?
Yes.
Amy, yes or no?
Yes.
Lorenzo, yes or no?
Yes.
Deb, yes or no?
Yes.
Myself, yes, it's unanimous. So your variance requests are approved, subject to well water testing.
Thank you. Could I have a question just for clarification? Acceptable well results. I'm curious if you could define that. I'm just curious or concerned that if we sample these 2 wells and they come back contaminated, how that would be handled. Obviously, this is an improvement over what's there now. I don't know that this would have contributed to anything that these wells may be seeing for levels, and I wouldn't know how we would make it any better. I think basically this would just be maybe a baseline testing so we can determine the condition of each well and where it stands currently. I'm curious what acceptable means, because if something comes back high, how would that be handled?
Yeah, I agree, Darren. I've always, I've never really believed in having the abutters wells tested. But it opens up a whole can of worms if something should actually go wrong. I think what we should do, and what I would recommend the board to do, would be just to have the locust well tested.
That's what I thought we usually did, actually.
I think Darren thinks it's happening for all the abutters too.
Maybe that wasn't clear in the motion to me.
Okay.
Maybe you should restate, maybe you should restate the motion.
Okay. So, I, would agree that we need to test the
Locust well.
locust well.
Okay,
And
so you recommend approval of the variance request, subject to satisfactory testing of the locust wells. Locust well is singular.
or are we saying it's a baseline?
Well, it will serve as a baseline.
Yep.
But it will also tell the property owners and the people who are residents there
Mhm.
whether or not the water is safe to drink.
Okay.
Is there a second to the restated
I will-
motion?
I will second that.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, again, I'll take the roll call. Dr. Reed, yes or no?
Yes.
Amy, yes or no?
Yes.
Lorenzo, yes or no?
Yes.
Deb, yes or no?
Yes.
Myself, yes, so the restated motion is approved and the variances are approved as well.
Yes. Thank you for that clarification too. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Darren. I mean, were it me, I think that if I was using a private well for drinking water source, if somebody said, you can do the testing for free, I would want to have it done.
Right, but actually telling an independent party that they have to be responsible for the test of someone else's well.
Yeah, that's going too far.
I like this idea though, about the calling the phone number. I'll be
Yeah, that's,
using.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be doing the same thing
Yeah,
because
it's pretty cool.
we did radon air testing
Yeah,
and it was a little high and the contractor put in mitigation measures with a fan. And I tested it afterwards and it had gone down a lot. But apparently the recommendation now is also to retest at least every once or once every year or 2 years
That's
to
great.
make sure there's been no significant changes. And they recommend it only be tested in the winter months when your heating system is running and the house is closed up.
It's a great benefit.
And if the state is gonna say, we'll do this for you,
Yeah.
at no cost for you.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, it's a great
Okay.
benefit. Yeah,
okay, because radon does cause a lot of lung cancer.
yes.
Next item on the agenda, I'm gonna try and do this. And I'm pretty sure I can now. So I have a bunch of information here. Let me start the slideshow for you. Is that visible to everyone? I think, right? So, I believe it was last week, I was asked to come to the Plymouth Library and answer any questions that came up. Because they were, one of the environmental groups was showing a film called We Are All Plastic People. And you'll see the link for that. I can't show it, although I think we have the capacity to do it now, but it's 56 minutes long. And I'm not about to show a 56-minute long video during the Board of Health meeting. But the link will be in the slides at the end. So things you need to know about plastics. Microplastics are about less than 5 millimeters across. Nanoplastics are less than 1 micrometer across. All plastics are made from fossil fuels. There are now around 9,600 plastic materials. They are found, these microplastics and nanoplastics are found in cosmetics, lipstick, lip gloss, eye makeup, facial scrubs, toothpaste, and shower gels. You can also find them in carpeting, insulation, curtains, synthetic fiber clothing, and vehicle tires. So these are all sources of microplastics. They also have added chemicals. So in some cases, they use bisphenol A to harden the plastic further. And in some cases, they use phthalates to soften the plastics. These are both known hormone disruptors. And in significant quantities, they can affect fetal development, insulin resistance, and obesity problems. So there's a lot of information here. I'm going to skip through some of it, but I wanted it to be available for everybody so you could see it. Let me see, did I skip through too soon? Okay, so these are all articles that you can see that are quite recent. So this one was from March 24th, 2023. They found microplastics in human lung, maternal and fetal placenta tissues, human breast milk, and human blood. Since then, it's been found in a lot of other tissues. This was published in Environmental International. And this meant that they now have proof that microplastics have gotten into a lot of human tissues. It's also in food and water. They did a study back in 2020 and they found these things in everyday fruits and vegetables. And they found that wheat and lettuce plants were taking up microplastics in soil and in laboratory testing. On top of that, fertilizers are coated with plastic for controlled release. On top of that, the plastic mulch film is a protective layer for crops, and water containing microplastics is also used for irrigation. So there's a lot of concerns. We know that these things are in our drinking water. Where you get your drinking water from depends upon how much you're actually exposing yourself to. Babies are at particular high risk. And so when they studied, limited study with just 6 infants and 10 adults, they found that the infants had more microplastic particles in their feces than adults. Kind of troubling. Microplastics enter the fetus through the placenta, and babies can also ingest it through their breast milk. And last time I looked, these days, most feeding bottles and teething toys were all made of plastic. So it's potentially a problem. There's been health risks identified, but a lot of it's been done with mice. And there's not conclusive evidence yet that there's a direct positive effect of any of these with human health. but at least in mice, it affected the gut microbiome. It led to inflammation. As you'll see in a minute, it also led to lower sperm quality and testosterone levels and negatively affected learning and memory. And I'm going to skip through the rest of this and show you the next thing. That's what they look like. I was astonished when I finally got to go to the Galapagos Islands and was on a tour of several of the islands led by a naturalist. And he stopped us, a group of 10 of us, and pointed to a collection of things that look exactly like this on the beach in the Galapagos Islands. So this stuff is everywhere. They also, what you're seeing, however, is a picture of microplastics that were found in human testes. And they found it both in preserved human testes and also in testes from dogs that were being neutered. So problems. So this, they think, but they haven't yet proven, may be linked to decades-long decline in sperm counts in men around the world. And they tested, in this case, 23 human preserved testes and 47 testes from pet dogs. They found microplastics in every sample they tested. And of course, with human testes, they couldn't do a sperm count because they were preserved samples. But in dogs, they found that the sperm count was lower in samples with a higher contamination. And most of it was coming from PVC, which is one kind of plastic. So there's a lot of plastic dumped into our environment, and they seem to be having an effect upon human health, whether you get them through food and water or whether you breathe them in. As you can see here, it gives you some data, but polyethylene used in plastic bags and bottles are the worst offender, followed by PVC. The PVC releases a lot of chemicals that can interfere with spermatogenesis. And as I said before, it can cause endocrine disruption. They also did a similar sample in China back in 2023. So these things lodge in tissue, they can cause inflammation. And some of the other chemicals that are present in the plastics can cause harm. So in some cases, they worry that there are potentially life-threatening effects from these things, including raised risk of stroke and heart attack, and earlier death in people whose blood vessels were contaminated. Again, it's a correlation. So it's not, considered to be proof of the association, but they find problems like this when and it correlates positively with the amount of microplastic present. And this was in the journal called Toxicological Sciences. So what can you do about this? This came up at the library. I got a lot of questions about what am I supposed to do? So among the suggestions are you should dust and vacuum your home on a regular basis. Avoid drinking from plastic bottles. If you have no choice, keep them out of the sun and out of high temperatures. If you don't do this, there's going to be a lot more microplastics and associated chemicals in your water. Even better, if you have the capacity to do this with your refrigerator, filter your drinking water as it comes out of the refrigerator. So some refrigerators have built-in filter units that you have to change periodically. Those will remove microplastics. So we're fortunate enough to have those at home, and so all the water that comes out for us to use in drinking purposes, even for our pets, when we finally have pets again, but we've had them for a long time before, they get filtered drinking water. And as a matter of fact, their drinking water source actually has a charcoal filter in it as well. Also, try not to microwave your food unless you put it in glass containers, rather than the plastic or takeout containers you get at the restaurants. Some of them are labeled microwave safe, but they can still shed lots of chemicals and obviously microplastics into the food when you heat it. And so it's worthwhile trying to not do that. These are the links for the videos. I now know how to do this without messing up the system. But it's 56 minutes long. Obviously, I can't spend 56 minutes of the meeting doing this, although it was fascinating. And there was rapt attention in the Plymouth Public Library from about 65 people who were present as they watched the entire video. But that's the information that's available. I put a blank slide in to see if anybody would like to try to stump me with questions.
I just have a comment, Barry. Do you think that humans will evolve to deal with these microplastics? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think will affect any of us. Simply because evolution is a slow, step-by-step process over hundreds and hundreds of years. Is it likely that we will actually develop the capacity to break down microplastics? Unlikely.
No.
I don't think so. They're petrochemical based. So it's probably unlikely that that will ever happen.
Maybe put that
So-
appendix back to use, you know? No, I don't know.
Well, if you had your appendix removed, I don't think you
Yeah.
probably want to put it back in. I
Yeah.
mean, it was painful coming out. It's gonna be probably. Anybody else have questions or comments? Okay, next thing I wanted to mention to you is something that kind of drew my attention, but I showed it to my wife, she said, what? So apparently they have now come up with a new guidance that in terms of testing for HPV and cervical cancer, which used to be done at a gynecologist's office, you are going to be able to self-collect the vaginal specimen. And I know, if you wish to do so, and then send it into a laboratory for testing. So this currently is suggested, I guess if you can't go to a doctor's office, but they claim if you go to a doctor's office and you're uncomfortable with that procedure, that you need to be provided a private room so you can collect your own specimen. I know. Eventually, the reason they did this, again, there's a thing about racial and economic sort of justice. A lot of people who don't have enough income probably skip these tests. Some people skip them because they just don't want to go through the process. Some people skip them because getting themselves to a doctor's office where these samples can be taken is prohibitively expensive and difficult. So they're trying to make an option available, so that these people would have more incentive to actually do the testing. So that's why this came up on the agenda. And I bet there's somebody that's going to have a comment about this one. No?
Well, my only comment is that there are good reasons for going to the physician, and a lot of women in the age group where they're getting pap smears and that sort of thing don't see the doctor for any other reason than that. And so they're getting no health care at all if they're doing this by themselves. And there's certainly, you know, breast exams and other things that occur in the doctor's office that would be helpful. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. I think it's really a neat thing for people who can't afford to go to doctors. On the other hand, don't avoid a doctor just because of it.
Well, if we had universal health care insurance, I guess that wouldn't be an issue.
Exactly.
But we don't, so.
Yeah.
We're better off in Massachusetts because of Mass Health, which I would hope would fund this kind of thing for everyone.
Yeah.
And access to GYN is really bad. If you're not already established and you need to get in to have a GYN exam, you're not going to get it. So
Yeah.
I mean, it may be good for that.
Yeah, that's true.
I just can't help but think about user error.
In terms of the
Actually-
procedure for collecting.
Actually, I read an article on it. It's very accurate.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's very specific and sensitive both.
Mm.
So I think it's a good test.
Mm.
So
It's pretty
Even
cool
hard to
then.
do it wrong.
unless you worked at it, I
I
guess.
thought
Well, that's great.
You don't know
Well,
what the cost of this would be, do you? No?
I assume that if you're testing at home, you get a set of instructions with a test kit And probably just like anything else, you would then send it into the laboratory to obtain results. But I'm not sure about that. I don't know if they've worked that out yet. But clearly there was a report about this, and so I thought everybody should know.
It's interesting.
Bird flu. H5N1. We talked about this before, but this is more information. Fragments of these viruses have been found in the region's store-bought milk in Massachusetts. 1 in 40 samples from 20 different grocery chains, including Trader Joe's, Stop and Shop, Shaw's, places that most of us shop at. But there wasn't any of this present in milk that came from New England farms. Because the Commonwealth doesn't have as many dairy farms as they used to, a lot of the milk comes from out-of-state sources. So the FDA went ahead and tested 297 samples from 30 different states, and they found these virus fragments in 20% of the testing samples. It is inactivated, the viruses would be inactivated by pasteurization, which is a high temperature process, which also kills pathogenic bacteria. So take home message from this is you probably should not be drinking raw milk. It carries quite a lot of health risk. There's also concerns that genetic changes could allow these viruses to infect and be transmitted between other mammals, including humans, and that came out May 18th, this year from the Boston Globe. Any questions about bird flu? Didn't think so.
Could I, Dr. Poppin, if I could, just to go back to the other category about the HPV testing.
Mhm.
It's $69 on the website, Deb.
Oh,
So.
Thank
I mean,
you, thank you.
I don't think it's cost prohibitive. I mean, I think, to have the ability to have it done and not have to wait for an appointment, I think that's not too bad of a price point, but that's just one site that I
So
found.
it's already available,
It's already available.
and it's a kit you can get.
Yes.
Most of the time, when you have something like that, the cost is predominantly for the lab work.
Yeah, I would
The
think.
same thing happens with radon, which is why it's so wonderful that the state DPH now has an EPA
We're excited.
grant,
I know.
so you have to pay it down.
I know.
that's good.
So there are some new COVID virus variants that have come out. And the risk that they're causing is uncertain and unknown. But as you can see, this came out on the 17th of May. So fortunately for all of us, COVID-19 levels are about the lowest they've ever been seen in the US since the pandemic started. But as usual, there's another new crop of variants. And once again, they're not sure if this is not going to cause a problem going forward, especially as we head into the summer months. One of them is called KP2. It belongs to a group called the flirt variants.
I know.
I thought that was an interesting.
I thought that was interesting.
So these viruses want to flirt with us. Okay, well. And it overtook another flirt variant called JN1. It's now dominant. And it causes about the most cases of the COVID infection that they've now seen. They both belong to the Omicron family. That was what caused the winter's cases for the most part. And it says the acronym in the name refers to the locations of the amino acid mutations that the virus has picked up. So flirt doesn't mean what we think. Flirt is referring to a specific part of the mutations that the virus has acquired. It evades the body's immune response to some extent. May help it become more transmissible. Last I saw, the current vaccines, which are still available, has some protective effects against this one also. But probably you could still get infection, but as is usually the case, it might not be such a severe infection. So just a heads up, that these things are out there. This is the video that I desperately was trying to show
Oh.
last time, and it is relatively short. And while I can't do it because my computer is not directly connected to the screen, I thought that we should attempt to do this, but we can do it under new and old business, so don't go yet. The next item on our agenda is the director's report.
Okay.
And I'll stop the screen share if I could find the button to do it. There it is. Okay,
Okay, so as promised, my director's report for the next several months will probably always include information about ticks. I did reach out to Blake, is it Blake Dinius?
yes,
And he is hopefully going to join us in July. He is straight out busy, but we're hoping to get him in July to talk to us about ticks. But always keeping that information in the report. Also, tomorrow night, Dr. Pavin's going to talk about it as well, but we are having a forum about rodents. And I thought it would be, this is actually right from our website. So if anyone wanted to find this information, they could go right to the public health website to learn about how to prevent and address a rat problem in your neighborhood. Again, we've talked about this before too. You know, what you could do when you find the rats. How you can, this is funny, how you can evict them. Things that you can do to make them leave your property. Ways you yourself can exterminate them. And then what you can do to prevent them. And there's some interesting ways. Some home remedies using cotton balls and ammonia or peppermint oil or castor oil, citronella oil, and place them around your garbage cans and any other places that you might expect to find the rats. And they're repelled by those scents. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But anyway, if tomorrow night we'll have a lot more information about, well, not information, but we'll have a public forum so people can talk about it. May is Mental Health Month, but it is also National Health Observance for National Physical Fitness and Sports Month. So since 1983, each president has publicly recognized and promoted the importance of physical activity to good overall health. This year, President Biden issued a proclamation commemorating this year's observance by saying, "We can all come together, feel better, and live longer if we stay active, exercise, and keep moving." The Move Your Way website, and I listed it there, has information about physical activity and tips for getting active and staying motivated. It also features an interactive tool for building a printable, personalized physical activity plan to help patients plan and track their weekly goals. And it also has personal stories about how you can combine your physical activity and eating habits to get even more health benefits. And the National Institute on Aging, NIA, offers workout videos tailored to older adults. And I listed the website there as well. And then for the public health office, I just want to let folks know that there's, we talk about septic systems, we talk about, you know, restaurant inspections, we talk about all different things that the public health department does and how we work together with the board. One other thing that we also do is we do all of the semi-pool inspections in the town of Plymouth, of which we now have over 60.
No.
Yep. We have I think we're up to 62 semi-private pools in Plymouth that need to be inspected every year right before they open, when they open or not too long after they open. We need to do an inspection of these pools. So Rachel Milroy, who is our health technician, this is one of her assignments. So she's been quite busy out on the road, going to all of the semi-private pools to have those inspections done. And that's my report for today.
okay, thank you, Karen. Anyone have questions for our department director?
I do,
Yeah.
because it's been raining so much, it seems like we're getting mosquitoes earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Have we had any issues with our mosquitoes that you know?
No, not yet. We are also doing spraying, and that's going to begin, next month. There'll be aerial spraying for mosquitoes. People who don't want the aerial spraying to happen in the neighborhood can contact the Plymouth Mosquito Control, right here in Plymouth, and they can ask for their house to be off of the list that's going to be sprayed. But I'll be reporting, any type of, just like I always do during the season, if there are any cases that I've discovered in this area for either, equine or, humans or other mammals. So, but as of right now, no.
In connection with that, I noticed my next door neighbor with a mosquito control company making a lot of
Oh,
noise
yeah.
spraying.
Yeah,
And so I went and talked to the technician who was doing it. I said, what are you spraying? And he gave me the name of the agent. I went, of course, and looked it up online. And I found out that, well, it's not horribly hazardous to dogs, although they may not feel too well for a couple of days. And it's not terribly hazardous to humans. However, if it gets into the water, it is hazardous to all marine organisms, and it will kill bees.
bees, yeah,
Oh,
yeah, it does, yeah,
So today, I saw my neighbor and I said, oh, by the way,
yeah.
you realize, or you may not realize, that the stuff that they are spraying in your yard next door to my property is killing all the bees.
Mhm.
And he flipped out and said, oh, I didn't know that. I had no
Yeah.
idea. I said, oh,
Mhm.
I'm gonna call that company right away. So, we can't afford to lose our bees. I mean, that's
Yeah.
something really bad.
Mhm.
So my question is the stuff that they are spraying for mosquito control also going to negatively impact the bee population?
I don't think so. I think that question was asked last year and the answer to that was no, but I'll definitely find out. But I don't think it will.
Okay.
And in fact, I know they've mentioned before about, they do recommend bringing your dogs in and your other pets in just for safety's sake, just to be, but there is no indication that there'll be any kind of grave illness if your dog happens to be caught outside, when the spraying begins.
And the other thing I thought, that since you mentioned ticks, and we can't get Blake here for another, 2 months.
Yeah.
There's a big tick population this year.
It's huge.
Have there already been Lyme cases reported?
Yeah, I report them every month, so,
we had it through the winter.
yeah, we have, I would say we're gonna have them year round,
Yeah.
to be honest with you, in this area. There'll be Lyme cases year round. Yep,
Because what's happened now is
Absolutely.
it takes dry, cold weather in the winter to reduce the tick population.
Mhm.
We had the opposite.
That's right. It's absolutely
It
right.
was very moist
Yeah.
and it was not very cold, and
Yeah.
the tick population is enormous.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
And so you have to take protective measures. I got the pleasure of having to go out and cut the grass for 2.5 hours the last 2 days,
yeah.
and I was cautious as I possibly could be. But just today, I looked down at my arm and I saw a tick crawling up my arm.
Well, yeah, and that's why in my director's report, we always talk about, look for those new freckles. Make sure you check, the kids when they come in from head to toe, but also for adults, have someone else check your back. You know what I mean? Cause you may not be able to see your entire backside, whereas it's really important that, especially if you are coming in from doing yard work or hiking or anything like that, that you have someone check you.
Also dog walking. You should check your dogs too when they come in.
Dogs, all the time. Yeah.
The dogs come in and the fleas, the
Yeah.
ticks may not stay on them. They may decide they
Mhm.
prefer another host.
Mhm.
What happens with the ticks is that, and I think Blake says this all the time, they tend to go up on like low flowering plants or non-flowering plants, about as high as about where your calf is.
Mhm.
They sort of hang there and their legs partly just extend out from it. And if you happen to brush next to them and they sense it, they instantaneously jump on you. And so that happens with dogs, it happens with people.
Yeah, well, that's why we tell everyone, to put your pants inside your socks and wear socks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even when it's hot outside. I mean, unfortunately, that's the best way to protect yourself. Do not have bare skin from the waist down.
And please be careful with permethrin, because you
Mhm.
cannot apply that to your skin but it is very effective if you spray your shoes
Mhm.
and your socks
Mhm.
and your long pants that you're gonna wear outside, where there may be ticks with permethrin, as long as you let it dry before you wear it. So actually, if a tick walks across anything with permethrin that's dried, they will die almost instantly.
Oh.
So that's a big help. Only other announcements I have is that there will be no Board of Health meeting, the first meeting in June, which I think is the 12th of June. Because neither Dana nor Karen nor myself can be here. And so we decided that we probably shouldn't just, we should just cancel the meeting. So the next meeting will be on June 26th, which is the fourth Wednesday of the month. At that time, there will have been, if there's adequate numbers of applicants, appointments having been made to the Board of Health by the Select Board. And we go through an annual process where once that happens, we have to reorganize. And so there will be a vote for the chair, and then there will be a vote for the vice chair. So two things to consider. One is, if you're still going to be on the board for the 1st of July, do you have an interest in becoming the chair? And do you have an interest in becoming the vice chair? And if you currently hold those positions, do you have an interest in continuing? In the case of David Golden, although he had 2 years left in his term, he was elected to the Select Board, and he has already resigned from the Board of Health. So the remaining 2 years on his term have to be filled by someone. At the moment, Deb, you're our alternate. You could fill that, you will fill that responsibility until we have someone else, if there is someone else, to take that 2-year term over, or unless you wish to do it yourself, in which case you should notify the town manager's office. I
Okay,
believe
that was my question. I have to let them know that I'm interested, correct?
yes,
Yes,
because you're actually asking for a new
yes.
appointment. And you may have to fill out the form for someone asking for a reappointment or a new appointment.
Yeah, it's right on the website, Deb, if you go to plymouth-ma.gov. It's actually one of the headers. It says, are you interested in joining the board or committee? And even though, like Dr. Poffin just said, you are on the board or committee currently, you are looking to change the status. So
Okay.
you would have to fill that out, and then in your comment section, you would say that you're currently an alternate, but you're seeking to have a full appointment to fulfill 2 years left on David Golden's term.
And
Okay,
if that
I will-
happens, we then have to fill your vacancy as an alternate. And as it turns out, as far as we know at the moment, there is just one applicant who is interested in joining the Board of Health. And also a nurse, it so happens. So we may be able to gain a nurse and actually keep our existing nurse on the Board of Health, which would be
Yes.
wonderful. So any questions about any of that? I was gonna talk about the radon test kits, but we've already done so. So I don't know about anybody else, but if somebody offers me free radon test kits, I'm all in.
Yeah.
Is there any other new or old business anyone wishes to bring up before the board? Remember, we won't be meeting again until the 26th.
Did you want to show your video?
Yeah, that's gonna be new and old business, if no one else has it.
Videos.
So here's the challenge, Dana. Go down to the bottom slide on the PowerPoint. And click on the link. I think you have to right click on it and then just says open link. And it should start. It did. Play trailer.
Hey. Oh, yeah.
And it still doesn't have an audio. I sort of hear it, but it's low. Oh.
It's the highest.
Go to your computer with a little, on the bottom right-hand side, there's a little thing that's like a speaker. and click that. And if you click that, you should see a thing pop up where you can increase the volume.
Yeah, we're at 100.
It's not.
It's not working? Okay.
Oh.
Back to the drawing board.
Hmm.
We tried again. We had it working before when I was directly linked through this thing into the screen.
Oh, wait, you know what, maybe because I didn't do a share screen?
He
Oh,
told me
maybe.
that, he told me the share screen doesn't
No, I
work well.
actually did do a share screen, I am.
He said the share screen doesn't work well, but if you're linked directly into the screen from your computer, which you are,
Yeah.
it should work without the share screen.
Hmm.
If not, we will find out how to do it the next time. Because I asked him, and I said, well, you know,
Let me try something.
because we've still got
Let me try it.
a little time left. It's supposed to work.
Mhm,
Not working.
mhm.
Okay, so the other way to do it, which I don't want to do, would require disconnecting your computer and replacing your computer feed to the screen with mine.
Will it still record the rest of the meeting?
I don't think that affects the whole, but, he took something off
This one.
of yours. Yeah, if you pull that off and I connect it to this one, it might work.
We're gonna be super careful because the consequences are just.
And now it looks like it's,
Basically, rules that are gonna work in the show.
and now I have to get the screen to work. This is a process. We keep trying. I'll open the- Let's see if that works.
It's not up on
Oh, that's because that's connected. This has to be connected. Was that one that came off of your?
that.
This has to go here somewhere. We'll try it one more time.
Oh, God. Yeah, echoing.
Thank you, Sarah.
No, that's just. I guess we're not gonna succeed again. I can watch it, but that wouldn't be fair.
What if you shared the screen?
Let me go back to.
Not you, if Dana shared the screen and you kept the volume like.
Mine's not connected to that anymore.
I'll just put on share screen. Well, we can have audio or we can have video, but apparently we can't have both. So we figure this out. Here.
Next thing now,
This is such fun.
leak at an American nuclear power plant, 745 miles north of San Diego, California. These steam generators are lemon.
No, you're echoing.
Um, You can have that back. Okay. Can everyone still hear us?
Do I need the other one?
I think that was always connected to my. Right. Okay, can everyone hear us again? Yes, okay. So at this point, we tried again, but we failed. So I will just ask at this point for a motion to adjourn unless someone has other old or new business.
So moved.
So moved.
Dr. Reed made the motion. Amy, would you care to second?
I will second the motion.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, I'll just call the roll. Dr. Reed, yes or no?
Yes.
Amy, yes or no?
Yes.
Lorenzo, yes or no?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Myself, yes. The meeting is officially adjourned.
Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
See you all, see you all tomorrow, I guess.
Tomorrow.
At
Yes.
at the Great Hall.
Yes, we'll be together again.